Hello, Shanti. Good evening. Welcome. Everyone is doing well. So today we have taken up the topic of practice of no problem. Practice of no problem. Yeah, this was the main kind of core message on Sunday, and we should really experiment with this awareness of no problem. So we thought to try and look at it and understand how can we create a consciousness that is no problem. Right? Acha. So if we were to define a problem, how would we define a problem? What is a problem? How do we define a problem?
That's not according to me.
Good. Yeah. Anything that's not according to me is a problem. So if I accept everything, there is no problem. Right? Good. Nice. Right. What else is a problem? When we were growing up, we would in mathematics always have problems to solve. And arithmetic, algebra, or whatever, trigonometry, and say this is a problem to solve. And then when we would get a question paper, we'll say how many problems there were. And then the moment we look at the problem, we'll start thinking about the solution, how I can solve it, right? And in life also we see it's initially we don't have many problems. But later on, as you said, when we expect things to be a certain way, and how much of life can we control? How much can we control? Yeah, maybe just 1%, 0.1% or something, right? Majority of it actually we cannot control, right? And so because we cannot control, the moment I create an expectation, then there is a problem. So who created the problem? I created the problem. So as such, there is no problem, right? As such, there is no problem. But because I expected something to be a certain way, someone to be a certain way, or even, right, for myself to be a certain way, then I create a problem, right? So the good news is, because I created a problem, I can also create solution and the consciousness of no problem. Whenever we also use this word no problem a lot when someone says to us, thank you. And what do we say? No problem. Right? So it's like the more I keep on saying to life, thank you, thank you, thank you, then what do I get in response from life? So if I say thank you, thank you, thank you to life, what does life tell me in response? No problem, right? And if I don't say thank you, then there is sometimes problem, right? Right. So let's try and see. So in this image, you'll see that this yogi is sitting on top of all the complexities and all the problems. And why it is important to have the consciousness of no problem? Because it is only then that I can think positive. If my mind is constantly thinking about problems and constantly engaged in, right, that, just that energy of problems, then it's difficult for me to have positive thinking. And that's what Baba was saying on Sunday, that we should have everything positive. So transform from negative to positive is the first stage really is to have no problems. It's like if I have problem, something I'm not okay with, then I cannot actually go to the next step. And so sometimes I can try a lot to meditate, but if my mind is all consumed in the problems, then actually it is difficult to meditate. Right? But when I just, create a consciousness of no problem, then meditation is very easy and natural. Right. Cha, cha. What it says? This one says there is nothing called problem. It is just absence of an idea to find solution. Right. So at that time there is, and the moment there is solution, the problem disappears. The problem has been solved. Right. So it's just absence of an idea to find solution. And sometimes, we have heard this quote. It says, problems are inside the story and solutions are outside the story. So if I try to find the solution to the problem inside the story, what will happen? I won't be able to find and I'll be disappointed. And so really the method is so simple, is to just step outside and to see the larger picture, and then automatically the solution comes. And that's why, when Baba talks about the drill, take a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, it's basically training the mind to step outside the story. Yeah, to really feel that, to know that there is a world outside the story. Like we are sitting in this room right now. And so what we see is this wall set, this reality. But we also know that there is another reality outside, even though we can't see it right now, but we know, right? So in the same way, whilst we are playing our roles here, but we know that there is another reality outside this drama, outside this physical world, outside this earth, where we souls exist. Right? So the more I realize that, I can automatically find the solution. Cha. This one says, most of the problems in life are because of two reasons. We act without thinking, or we keep thinking without acting. It's true. Either I act without thinking, so impulsive, right? Or I keep thinking, but don't act. So it's like all in my mind. I create a story and I keep in my mind. Right? Right. So there has to be a balance, right? Thinking and acting. Right. Sure. This one says problems are part of life. Facing them with smile is art of life. It's our part of life, and facing them with smile is art of life. We have to face them anyways, but we should face them with a smile. Smile, right? Acha. So let's watch a little story on this and see how we can always smile whilst being surrounded with problems. Yeah?
Sometimes there is no money for the business. Sometimes the son's health deteriorates. Sometimes a friend cheats in business. Sometimes there is a fight with someone at home. Sometimes a loved one meets with an accident. A person was going through all these problems in his life. But one day, the monk's knowledge and words changed his life. This is a very old thing. There lived a businessman in the village, and there used to be one problem after another in the life of this businessman. Due to being under so much stress, this man's health also started deteriorating. When this man became very desperate, then a friend said, "A monk has come outside the village. Let's meet him. This will calm your mind too." When the businessman reached the monk, many people came to meet him. Then after some waiting, the businessman met the monk. The businessman said, "I am very troubled with my life. I am unable to find peace. Sometimes I have problems at work. Sometimes I feel unwell. Sometimes there are fights at home. And sometimes there are fights outside. I am surrounded by problems one after another. Please tell me, how can I get out of these problems? And how can I live in peace?" Hearing his words, the monk says smilingly, "I will answer your question tomorrow. But before that, you will have to do me a favor." The monk says, "A rich businessman has given me 100 goats, and today I have to go to another village. You take care of the goats tonight. When all the 100 goats sleep, you also sleep. I will meet you tomorrow." Saying this, the monk left from there. The next morning, the monk came back and asked the merchant, "Did you sleep well last night?" On this, the businessman said sadly, "Last night I could not sleep even for a moment. I tried very hard, but could not put all the goats to sleep together. Some goats would sleep, some would bleat, some would stand up and try to wake up others. This sequence continued throughout the night. Despite my best efforts, all the goats did not sleep together." The monk said smilingly, "If I am not mistaken, many goats must have fallen asleep on their own during the night, and some must have been put to sleep by you. Some must have not slept despite your efforts, and some must have finally sat down after getting tired themselves." The monk started speaking. "All the problems in life are just like these goats. Some problems get solved on their own. Some problems get solved by trying, but some problems are not solved at that time, even if no matter how hard you try." The monk says, "There is one more thing to teach from here. Yesterday you must have felt that if one challenge comes in this life, then another will also come. That is why, do not have any expectation in your mind that, when the problem is solved, when the struggle is over, then I will be happy. Do your work today, and be happy from now on." Monk says, "Yesterday when you asked me how the problem will be solved, and how will the mind remain calm, then the answer was hidden in your second question itself. Keeping the mind calm is the only way to solve the problem. Problems are a part of our life, but it does not mean that we will keep thinking about them. We get stuck with the problem because we want it to be solved as per our wish, in our way, at our specified time. But many problems take time to solve, just like some goats move of their own free will. So should we become indolent? Should we sit with folded hands? No way. Identify the goal of your life. Choose a goal that will always inspire you, and keep taking steps towards it. Before sleeping at night, review your day's actions, and remind yourself, today I have done my work diligently, intelligently, and honestly. Now I have no worries. I am going to sleep peacefully. This will make you feel satisfied and light.
These problems are like goats, right? So it's like some problems will get solved on their own. You don't even need to worry. And some problems, okay, we try, we'll be able to solve. But there will be some that no matter how hard we try, won't get solved, right? Because they are not in our control. So what do we do with that? We just let them be the way it is, right? Right. And then we can just sleep peacefully. So it said, it's like sometimes we, try and think through and try and solve the problem, but maybe that's not the right time. Maybe the time will come. Moini Didi always says that, whenever we go to her for anything, she would listen, but she wouldn't just say, do this, do that. And she would say, okay, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. And someone then asked her, then why do you say that? She said, I'm just giving drama time to sort it out by itself. I don't need to do anything. Because if we see a lot of times, the problems automatically get solved. You don't even need to pay a lot of attention. Right? This one says, solve the problem or leave the problem. Don't live with the problem. Solve the problem or leave the problem. Don't live with the problem. So if the solution is coming to my mind, let me act on it. But if nothing is coming to my mind, then for that time, let me leave it and hand it to, who should I hand it to? To God. Yeah, we have such a good option to really hand it over to God. And then I don't live with the problem. Because living with the problem is like carrying the burden of it. Right? And when I carry the burden, then I become heavy. Right. It says, reduce the weight of your thoughts. Let go of the way it's supposed to be. Resistance is a heavy burden to carry. Let go of the way it's supposed to be. Resistance is a heavy burden to carry. Right? Yeah. And so it's like all the thoughts, right? You can see that this little boy is holding all these thoughts. It's not the way it's supposed to be. I don't want it. It is not fair. I can't believe it. You're supposed to live together. It's so many thoughts. And sometimes it's a small thought. Don't necessarily have a big thought, but sometimes even a small thought. And I can just, create that resistance, right? And that resistance is what then creates the weight. When I don't have resistance, then I don't get affected. And when Baba talks about the mountain and the cotton wool, right? Pahad and Rui. What's the difference between the two? Weight. So the mountain has a lot of resistance, but a cotton doesn't have any resistance. If there is cotton, and if I fire a bullet at a cotton, what will happen? Nothing will happen, right? It's cotton. Nothing will happen because there's no resistance. But whenever there is resistance, then it will, create problems. Yeah. So do I resist the flow of life, or do I accept the flow? And that's where the game changes, right? Do I resist or do I accept? And that's why when Baba says, what song we should sing always?
Mera Baba, Mera Baba.
And the W song?
Manmana Baba.
Manmana Baba, right? And W say? Vah Baba, Vah.
Vah Baba.
Vah. Yes. Vah means acceptance. Kushma Vah, Vah, Vah. This is great. This is great. Something happened. Oh, wow, that's great. And now when there is resistance, then what is the song of the mind? Hi, hi. Hi, hi. Hi, ye kya ho gaya? Hi, ye kya ho gaya? Right? It's like resistance or acceptance. Right? So when I just accept everyone the way they are, accept myself the way I am, accept life the way it is. So I don't want to change anything, anyone. So whatever it is, it's the best. Right? And that's what the knowledge of drama is, teaching us. Everything is happening for the best. Then there is no resistance. And then I just flow with life. Says flowing in life is to take away the baggage, the weight of the I. Flowing in life is to take away the baggage, the weight of the I. Because if I don't flow, if I get stuck, it is only then that I get. And if the river is flowing versus if the river is stationary, what will happen if the river is stationary? What is the problem with that? Yeah, it can, get contaminated, algae and all the different, pollution can come. But if the river is flowing, then it's not going to get polluted. Right? So if I'm just flowing, then I won't be affected. The mind won't be affected too much. Right? But if I'm stuck, it is then that I get affected. So let's watch another little story on this.
Once upon a time, a young man was very unhappy with his life. He felt depressed and terrible all the time. He came to know about a Zen master in nearby town. One day, he decided to visit Zen master and ask for a solution for his problems. Young man went to him and said, "Sir, I have so many problems in my life that I am always sad. Please tell me solution. How can I be happy?" Zen master listened to him carefully and then got up. Young man was confused to see him leaving without saying anything, but he waited for him. After some time, Zen master came back with a glass of water and a bowl full of salt. Master asked the man to take a handful of salt from that bowl and put it in the glass and then drink that water. Young man was confused but did as instructed by the master. Then Zen master asked, "How does it taste?" Young man replied, "It is terrible. All that I could taste was salt." Now Zen master asked that young man to take a handful of salt and come with him. They both went to a nearby lake. Then Zen master said, "Now put this salt in the lake." Young man swirled his handful of salt into the lake. After that, master asked him to drink water from the lake. Young man took some water and drank. Now Zen master asked, "How does it taste?" Young man replied, "Sir, it tastes good." Zen master questioned again, "Were you able to taste salt in this water?" Young man replied, "No, not at all." Master and young man sat near that lake. The master put his hand on the young man's shoulder and said, "My dear friend, the pain of life is like that pure salt. No more, no less. The amount of pain in life remains the same, but the amount we taste the pain depends on the container we put it into. So when you are in pain, the only thing you can do is enlarge your sense of things. Stop being a glass and become a lake." Now, here the glass of water and lake indicate our patience. And if we see in our lives, we will find that if you have little patience, like a glass of water, then even small problems in your life will start feeling big to you. And if you have abundance of patience, like lake, then even the biggest problems will not be able to disturb you too much. Of course, there are difficulties in the life of every person. In fact, there is no person in this world who does not have difficulties in his life. Difficulties are part of our life. If there is no sorrow in life, then there can be no feeling of happiness too. But when we start thinking too much about problems and starts worry too much about it, then we become like that glass of water, which will become bitter even with little salt in it. Therefore, whenever there are difficulties in your life, try to have patience like lake and try to deal with those difficulties. Only then you can live a happy and a peaceful life.
What do we learn from this story? Should become a lake and not a glass. And then if we see the life of Brahma Baba, there's so many things, situations came, but he never, got influenced. Why? Because his mind was in the unlimited. And that's what knowledge is, allowing us to do, is not just to be a glass. So glass means I'm just looking at this event or this situation. So I'm just focused on that. But when I enlarge my sense of things, zoom out and see from a unlimited perspective, from the perspective of the soul, then I realize that there's no problem at all. So the analogy is really, I thought it is good to understand that. So just to become like a lake. Right. Sure. Sure. This one says, the problem is not yours. It is your mind's only. Begin by disassociating yourself from your mind. Resolutely remind yourself that you are not the mind and that its problems are not yours. Right? So it's like the problems are not mine. I, the being, the soul, mine. So when I become unlimited, that's the feeling that I, experience, because the mind is, different and I am different. Right? And that's how I can easily go with the flow of life. And, when I start seeing, problems differently, right? Don't focus on the problem. And when this feeling comes, then automatically then solutions emerge. Right? So in psychology, there is this term called, they say there are two kinds of mindsets. So one is called a fixed mindset, and the other is called a growth mindset, which means fixed mindset is I just get fixated on the problem, right? So I just think about the problem. And the growth mindset is where I am, even though there is some challenge, but I use it to grow and not to, just get fixated. So it's called problem focus or solution focus. So what's the difference in the consciousness? So when I'm problem focused, then I'm thinking about what's wrong, what needs fixing, blame and control, causes in the past, the expert knows best, deficits and weaknesses, complication, definitions. And it's quite subtle if you see like how the mind will think, right? So my focus will always be what is wrong, what is not right, and then what needs fixing. It's good to understand. That's how I will think. Blame. So either I'll blame or I'll want to take control. Or causes in the past, then I'll try to see what this problem is because of that happened in the past. That happened in the past. The expert knows best means there is a problem and I'll try to look for the expert. So it's like I won't start with the solution and say, no, I need to get an expert to solve the problem. Deficits and weaknesses. So that's where my focus will go, on the weaknesses. And I'll complicate everything. And definitions, I want to define everything. Don't accept everything at their face value. Whereas solution focus, so it focuses on what's wanted, what's working, progress, influence, collaboration, resources and strengths, simplicity, actions. And I feel that's true for anything in life, be it at work, right? Because always challenges will come, or be it in our relationships, be it in my own efforts and anything, right? So, okay, there's something in me that needs to be changed, but I can't always think about it. I have to start with what is working, and I have to move forward with it. And that's how, and I have to stop pressurizing myself to be perfect all the time, because that's not practical, right? So it's like problem focus versus solution focus. So it's a very simple, if you see, but it creates such a big difference in our experience of life, right? So there is another story to differentiate the fixed versus the growth mindset. Let's watch that.
There will always be challenges and obstacles in life, some more difficult and some less. What matters is how we look at the problems we face. Are we looking with a fixed or a growth mindset? A fixed mindset is thinking your abilities are carved in stone. It's a belief that you can't change who you are and that you're stuck with whatever genetics and surroundings offered you. Failing means you're not reaching your potential. On the other hand, a growth mindset is thinking you can improve and develop over time. It's knowing that your genetics and surroundings don't define who you are and that you can always improve yourself. Failure and setbacks give you growth and learning potential. Let me introduce you to a story of twin brothers and their father. In a study on alcoholism, scientists found a particularly interesting pair of identical twin brothers who had an alcoholic father. Despite their identical genes and their presumably similar environments, they took a different path from one another. One of the twins grew up to become an alcoholic, a homeless bum on the street. But the other twin was a successful businessman who never took a sip of alcohol in his entire life. So they interviewed them both, hoping for an insight as to why they ended up so different. The alcoholic son told them, "Well, I grew up with an alcoholic father. Alcohol was in the house all the time and I saw my dad drinking, so I guess it was natural enough that I became an alcoholic too." The son, who was a businessman, said, "Well, I grew up with an alcoholic father. Alcohol was in the house all the time and I saw my dad drinking, So I guess it was natural enough that I swore I would never be like that, and so I don't drink. The twins started in the same place with the same circumstances. However, the path they chose was different as a result of their mindset. The alcoholic twin looked at his father with a fixed mindset. He thought that because of his father's influence as an alcoholic, he will become one as well. He was sure that his future was sealed, so he didn't even stop to think that maybe this could be a learning experience on what he shouldn't become. The successful twin was looking at his father with a growth mindset. Just like his brother, he was also influenced by his father, but he saw the problems it was causing, and unlike his brother, he saw it as a learning experience of what he didn't want to become, an alcoholic. So he decided to act on it, and he went down a very different road compared to his father and brother. We can't control the circumstances, and we don't always get to choose what happens to us or around us. But we can try our best to put ourselves in the growth mindset every time you face a challenge or a setback. After all, mindsets are just beliefs. They are powerful beliefs, but with enough dedication, you can change them over time. Just knowing about the growth mindset and reminding yourself that your intelligence and skills can be developed over time will yield amazing results. Remember, we all have the power to choose. So, will you choose a fixed mindset or a growth mindset? That is up to you.
So what should we choose? Growth mindset or a fixed mindset? Mhm. Mhm. Growth mindset. Mhm. And if we see sometimes we even subconsciously create a fixed mindset. That's how I am. That's how I have been in the past. So that's what I am, you know. And then we also think the same about others. That person is like this, so they are always, like this. But I forget that we are all on journey and we are all learning. We are all growing, right? So it's important to always, keep on growing, keep on learning. Mhm. There's a story about Mama, and then I don't know if we have discussed this. So there were two sisters. Mama is what? So one sister was, very good, and everyone, praised her. She had good qualities, and but the other one was, she would always kind of work on herself, like she's trying to improve, trying to learn, trying to work. And then someone then asked Mama, who is ahead of the two? And so Mama said, the one who is working on herself is ahead. Because the first one, because she already has so many qualities, but she has become complacent because of that. But the second one is actually growing. She feels that's what her specialties are, but she is not trying to, explore and, trying to become more unlimited. She's happy just being just this much. So it's like a fix versus growth, right? It's always there's so much to learn, to grow, right? And even like at work, right? I mean, with the recent technologies and so many things coming, either we can just feel threatened by it, right? Or we take it as an opportunity to learn and grow. Mhm. So it's up to us. Mhm. 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 Sure. Mm. Sure. And in neuroscience, there is a nice book, and the name of the book is um, very interesting book. It's called No Self, No Problem. No self, no problem. And what it says is The self we know is a left brain illusion. The self we know is a left brain illusion. Means, we have the left brain. So we have two brains, right? Left brain and a right brain. So left brain is the one that always, the commentator and narrator, right? And it says, actually that self is an illusion. It's creating an illusion. It says, why are you unhappy? Because 99.9% of everything you think and of everything you do is for yourself, and there isn't one. Means your left self, the story self, the role self, right? Because that's the truth, right? We're doing it. If we're not doing it in soul consciousness, we're doing it for the role, right? And that's not who we are. And our energy is getting depleted. So that's why we're unhappy. Right? That's true, right? Right. And so that's how, like, through meditation, the more soul conscious we become, we're learning to tap into the right side of the brain, which is more intuitive, right? Which is more creative. Not that much of, that commentary goes on in the right side. And so that is what is creating all the problems, right? Right. This one says, so there's another term for this left brain. It's called the left brain interpreter. It says the persistent feeling of a stable, continuous me is largely a story generated by the left side of the brain, acting as an interpreter to make sense of the world. This narrative self, while convincing, is ultimately an illusion. Right. So it's like an interpreter. So interpreter, what it does is it tries to make sense of what is happening around. So things are happening in our life. There is this interpreter sitting, just trying to make sense of everything. But he's just working based on his conditioning. It's not the reality. It's just based on its own conditioning. And that's why whatever it's projecting on the mind is actually all illusion. It's not the reality. Right? And that's why it is. And we are many times just under the spell of that illusion. Baba calls it Maya, right? That's what Maya really is. Right? It's constantly saying, and all the questions, whatever. That's what it is, right? Right. So with meditation and with this practice of soul consciousness, we call it meditation, but actually we are not in meditation. If we see, we are actually practicing soul consciousness, which is not exactly meditation. Meditation is like we're not sitting for long hours. We're actually practicing soul consciousness in everything that we do. That's what Raj Yoga is about. Of course, we meditate, but it's not just about sitting and meditating. It's more about integrating soul consciousness. Right? So it's not just a practice, but a way of life, because it's consciousness. So it's just identifying and then that left brain, and then just, that's what Baba says, full stop to this part, right? Become a soul and then come back, right? So we'll end with another story. A lot of stories today. We'll end with another story. And the story is about Buddha, Gautama Buddha.
A farmer once came to the Buddha burdened with troubles. Hoping for relief, he said, "Lord, I have many problems and I believe only you can help me." "I'm a farmer," he began. "I love what I do, but sometimes the rains don't come and my crops fail. Other times there's too much rain and the fields flood. I never seem to get the harvest I hope for. The Buddha listened silently. I'm married, the man continued. My wife is kind, but she nags and argues with me. I get tired of it. We have a son who doesn't always respect me. He disobeys, and my wife takes his side. I work so hard for them, but they don't seem to see it. He went on, my neighbors gossip. Some people owe me money and won't pay it back. I've taken loans too, and I'm worried about how I'll repay them. After pouring out his heart, the man looked at the Buddha, waiting for wisdom that would fix his life. The Buddha said calmly, I can't help you. The farmer was stunned. What do you mean? Aren't you a great teacher? If you can't help me, then what use is your teaching? The Buddha said, everyone has problems, 83 of them to be exact. You might fix a few, but as soon as one goes away, another comes. Some problems you can control, but many you can't, like sickness, getting old, death, other people's thoughts and actions, or even the weather. You'll always have these 83 problems. The man asked, then what's the point? The Buddha replied, the real issue is your 84th problem. What's that? You want a life with no problems at all. The farmer stayed quiet. That wish, the Buddha said, is what makes you suffer. You think life should go perfectly, but it never does. Stop expecting a perfect life, and the other 83 problems won't feel so hard to bear. Finally, the farmer understood. We all carry our own version of those 83 problems. Family drama, money stress, work pressure, health issues, misunderstandings, bad luck. That's life. But when we expect it all to go smoothly, when we demand it be fair, when we resist what we can't control, we add the 84th problem. And that's the one that causes the most pain. The truth is, suffering doesn't come from problems. It comes from thinking we shouldn't have any. The moment we drop that expectation, we begin to live more freely. Not because life gets easier, but because we stop fighting it. Fix what you can, let go of what you can't. The rest, that's life. Solve your 84th problem, and the others won't weigh you down the same way again.
Mhm. So how many problems we have to fix? Just one. What is that 84th problem? Right? And then how do we fix it? By stop expecting that life should be without any problems, right? I like this little story because it just reminds us that, it's very easy, really. Acha, Om Shanti. Let's take a moment and just go beyond the limited sense of self and realize that we're all souls, we're all actors in this play of life. And we accept every scene, every situation, every actor, including the self, completely. We go with the flow of life, making our minds like lake, unlimited, always striving for growth, just silencing the left brain interpreter, just staying in the moment, and only solving the 84th problem. Om Shanti. Shanti. Thank you, Baba. Thank you, family. Thank you for joining. And anyone would like to share any thoughts, please feel free to. Om Shanti. We have a few angels here. So, share.
Solve the problem or live a problem, don't live with the problem. Probably a little burden. And I think that was a good takeaway for me. And then also the problem focused versus solution focused. Those examples were good takeaway. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me move back to
Problem. जी जी जी.
Question. I think the gist of what I understood from all of this was to zoom out and then look at the bigger picture. Like being the unlimited, with the example of the cup and the lake. And for me also, it's I think the biggest takeaway was don't live with the problem, leave it or solve it. Yeah, the left brain interpreter was interesting. It's a good thing to kind of learn about. So
Thank you.
Starts by the story of the goat. Like there are many problems in the life. Some can be solved immediately, some cannot. And if we cannot find the solution of that problem, we just have to surrender it and surrender it to the drama. Drama will, give us the solution. And yeah, I mean, everything is related to the problem. Don't leave the problem. If I resist, then problem come. Accept everything as they are. Everything is happening is the best for me. As Brahma always said that whatever is happening for Brahman is happening for best. We can't see the result right now, but in future we will know why this is happening. And abundance of patience. So patience is very important because we start reacting at that time. I want solution right now. Why it's happening with me? A lot of questions. In the image, I could see a boy who had a lot of questions in my mind. Why this is happening? What's with me? And the positive and the focus mind and the what was the growth mind? There was the difference I could see. Where is me right now? I could say I am not focused. I'm focused on the problem, not on the solution. So I learned from this. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Manashi?
Yeah, ready now. I'm trying to. Actually, the reason I wanted 2 minutes because I think I learned a lot today. Maybe I slept this afternoon, so I could actually understand things better. So मैं सोची थी कि मैं कैसे उसको लाइक याद रखूं कि क्या क्या सीखा है, तो मैंने थोड़ा सा एक्रोनिम बनाया है. So the acronym is problem. I mean, it should be no problem, but no and the problem. So P से मैंने लिया है कि at the end of the day, it's just practicing soul consciousness is what is all about. R is for resistance. It's the heavy burden to carry. O is outside the story or outside the drama, so we have to just zoom on. B is like beliefs. So all these mindsets such as the powerful beliefs that we can change. And then L for lake. I think that story was really nice that we have to be a lake, not a glass. And then E is for expectation. So, expectation is the mother of problems, I think. And then M is for like me or the self. So the left brain illusion. So thank you so much for
that's great. Thank you. That's a really nice one. Yeah. Thanks for, that. Yeah. We should all remember it. You can send it to, it's the thing. Yeah, that will be helpful. Thank you. Sure. Great. Thank you. Anyone else would like to share thoughts?
Om Shanti. Beautiful sessions, Saurabh. Every time I attend and then I remind myself, how can I miss it? There's always something going on in the evening and not able to sit. But the one that really, really touched my heart, like there is never going to be there won't be any problem. It's how we take it. fixed mindset will always find things in negative way. Like मेरी तो किस्मत ही ऐसी है, मुझे तो DNA से ऐसा ही मिला है, मैं तो कुछ नहीं कर सकती. And then the growth mind always find positive, that things can work out. I can work hard. I remember when I joined the gym and long time ago, one of the lady was saying that I knew in my family we have arthritis, so I promised myself I'm not going through this. I'm going to work hard and fix this issue. And that's what I see in it. And be like a lake, not a glass, open-minded, and have more patience. सूरज भाई भी कहते हैं प्रॉब्लम तो इट्स ऑल क्रिएटेड इन आवर माइंड. देयर इज नो प्रॉब्लम, देयर इज नो इश्यू. इट्स वीक माइंड का. सूरज भाई कहते हैं प्रॉब्लम इज अ क्रिएशन ऑफ वीक माइंड. So that's how I see it. There is no problem. हम कह के I have a problem, I have a problem. We make it a big issue out of it. When we start saying I have no issue, I have no problem, then you don't see a problem. Thank you. Thank you, Sarabhai. Om Shanti.
Very nice. Thank you, Kiran bhai. Thank you. Okay. Any other final thoughts anyone would like to add? Sure. So thank you for joining. Enjoy the weather today outside. It's beautiful. Have a nice rest of the evening. Om Shanti.
This is what it is. अगर कोई और बैठा होगा वो यही कहेगा, no Saurabh bhai, it's very cold outside, it's very windy and very cold. It's how we look at it, how we say it. There are no issues, there are no problems. There's always positivity and negativity. It's all in our mind. Thank you.
Right. No, thank you, Kiran. Thank you, Papa. Om Shanti. Good night and good day. Om Shanti.